Link's going to be coming up here in a second. I'm so glad that you introduced us to StreamYard. It really has made life a lot better and
This is
easier.
this is the first time I've ever been on this end.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, I get to experience it the way my guests do now.
Wild. All right, I am sharing right now to mine. I'm going to tag both you guys.
We're really beasts with this now. We're really
beasts.
Yeah.
All right, I just shared it and tagged both you guys.
Okay. Hang on here.
It really opens it up for having other people on with you, and
there's nothing to talk about now that Trump has this COVID thing under control. There's really nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's all fine now. Just because he's on a balcony doesn't mean he's Mussolini. Mussolini did not trademark that. I just want you guys to know there's no.
And Mussolini didn't have as much trouble catching his breath either.
Maybe that's what the whole thing here was about. He was trying to get more air or something. I don't know. You guys got the link?
No, Jesus, hold on. Just a minute. Some days I just click on it and it goes right to it, and then other days it's good. There we go. There we go. Hey, lady.
And we usually go like around 40 to 42 to 45 minutes. That's usually what we do.
Okay.
Then usually in the second half, the North comes in and ravages the South after.
That's what happens. That's what happens. I'm ready whenever you are.
I'm pretty sure I'm in business now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. It is the Brad and Britt cast, and if you're with us live here in the 1:30 hour Eastern time on Facebook or YouTube or what else are we on? Are we on the Dish Network yet? Are we up there?
We're on Periscope, sharing everything with Twitter as well on at Brad and Britt.
Right. Are we on Slack? Are we on Scuzz? What are the platforms we're on? I can't remember.
We're not on TikTok, and we're not on, I don't think, any of the other ones. I don't think we're on any of that other stuff.
Yeah.
And Claudia's not on TikTok anymore either.
Oh, my God.
The voice of Papa, Dennis Elliott. Dennis Elliott, great liberal host, raconteur, and a winner of an Olympic medal in we can't talk about it. HIPAA regulations do not allow us to talk about that Olympic medal that you pulled in all those years ago. It's great to have you here, Dennis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Where do you want to start with? Because I was listening this morning to Don McNeil, who is the great science reporter for the New York Times, and he is the voice of doom on coronavirus. He's been the realistic voice of doom. Okay. He's the guy that 7 months ago said, here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a dance in, there's going to be a dance out. They're going to let up the regulations and the virus is going to pop up again. And of course, he's been 100% right. And for the first time ever today, he said, I am optimistic. How are you optimistic? Well, he's optimistic that there's going to be a vaccine end of the year, early next year, and within 6 to 8 months, there will be able to be enough of it made to get most of the population vaccinated. And even the anti-vaxxers are going to cave in because they're going to be faced with a choice. Do I refuse to get a vaccine, or do I want to fly again, baseball game again? Do I want to be with my family again? And they will give in, and within a year or so, we will be back to where we should. With that in mind, and with Donald Trump's paranoia, everyone is plotting against him. and the likelihood that we will get something pretty legitimate by the end of the year, but not by that special day that he used to talk about. What do you guys think his mental state is at this moment? And we get to play amateur psychiatrists and psychologists. And Dennis, when we ask that question, Britt always answers the reason why we can do things we shouldn't be allowed to do because
We're on a podcast.
That's
we
right.
do whatever. There are no rules, right? There is no governing body.
That's right.
So what do you guys think of his mental state right now? And certainly you can use the idea that he's hopped up on bennies and jacked up on goofballs or whatever the hell you want to do.
He's roided up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. He's completely roided up. And I think his mental state it's been steadily declining all year, and I don't see that it's going to improve at all. The closer we get to the election, the more unstable he's going to continue to act. And I'm not sure that, he's really cured of anything either as far as the coronavirus goes. That could pop up some more. I mean, really, realistically, and I'm not making light of this, the man could be dead before election day.
Right.
That possibility really exists. If you look at Herman Cain and everything that went on with Herman Cain, and doctors thought he was doing great, he thought he was improving, and where's Herman Cain today? He's not around anymore. Right. You never know with this, and I think that possibility really exists with Donald Trump, and he's obviously going to go nuts between now and then, and especially towards the end of the year after he loses the election, which I really hope happens.
I think we also need to pay attention to those stories we're hearing about the palace intrigue, about the fracture in the family, and Don Jr. is upset at the Jared and Ivanka wing of the family, and they keep encouraging him. And Don Jr. says the guy's looking like a complete nut. I think Don Jr.'s finally gotten a moment of clarity to see that his father's acting like a moron and acting like crazy. So I think that's going to continue, and that's going to be a huge story as well. But I think, Dennis, you're right. He's raging. He's going through the whole cycle of steroids. When you take steroids like that, you have to continue to take them. You have to go all the way through the cycle. At some point, he may decide that he doesn't want to, which means that's no good. They're going to continue to, say you need to go through the entire cycle. And I think you're right. He's not out of the woods. We keep hearing that phrase a lot from the doctors.
Right. Speaking of the doctors, I asked Jay, my wife's a psychiatrist, Dennis, and she knows a little bit about this kind of stuff. And with a steroid program like this, the worst thing that you could ever do is just cut them off.
Exactly.
Right? You have to go down gradually. It's very, very important for it to be monitored closely. And I can't believe I'm saying this because it seems like it doesn't make perfect sense anymore. He's got the best doctors in the world. Of course, they know that. But from what we know, they have allowed themselves to be bullied by Trump in their treatment here.
Right.
And that sets up all kinds of things that we've already seen on display. And we saw it on display yesterday. And can I throw in my favorite conspiracy theory about Trump, who, of course, is all about making money and that yesterday, in a moment of insane lucidity, he sent out that secret signal that we don't know about to his buddies that he was about to tweet and beat the shit out of the stock market because he knows that he can do it. And if you knew at 2 o'clock that Trump at 3 o'clock was going to tweet out that all the talks for stimulus payments and unemployment benefits and aid to cities and all the things that were being negotiated between Nancy Pelosi and Steve Mnuchin, they were actually on the phone when he tweeted this. They were talking to each other. If you had knowledge ahead of time, you could have made so much money. And I believe that this has been going on all through his administration, where he has moved the markets. And I can't prove it, but it's definitely in the list of things that I don't know they're true, but damn, it sure sounds like Trump. Sounds like something he'd be doing.
I'd never thought of that before either, but it does make sense. It would be so easy to do. As many times as he's come up and done crazy shit and caused the stock market to react one way or the other. Yeah, he could have given his friends a heads up and said, "Listen, I'm going to be doing this. Get ready for it."
Right. I mean,
This has been kind of
it could be as simple as him texting the number one if you should buy, number two if you should get out, and that's all it would be, and everybody would know what it is, right? It's like the old putting a lamp in the window, right, or two lamps. There's an easy way to signal it now, right?
Wow, I'd never thought of that before.
Yeah.
Well, this has kind of been a constant thing that Brad has accused him of over a number of years, that he's giving out secret signals to his friends in the stock market that something's about to happen. And he does it through tweets. He does it through any number of things. And they go ahead and they buy and they end up making a lot of money. And I don't know how he gets his cut of it, but he doesn't seem to be that smart at hiding financial improprieties, and all that stuff's crashing down on him. Somehow he's getting the money back.
Well, I don't know. It might even be his family. It might be other people. I mean, he might keep that kind of thing real close, but it's a cheap conspiracy theory, but I like it, and I'm sticking with it till I'm proven wrong. I'm not deviating it for a second from there. Did you guys see yesterday and notice the juxtaposition of the images? Because with Trump in particular, it's all about the image and what does it look like and how can we stage it. And he spent the last 4 days in the hospital and then coming home with that crazy ascent up the stairs where he was huffing and puffing and blowing the White House down and then ripping off the mask. And contrast that with Joe Biden standing in what has
Gettysburg.
to be the most beautiful backdrop, the most evocative of American pain and greatness, but now beauty 150 years later, the fields of Gettysburg, speaking calmly and rationally about American unity. And we've got to get beyond this, never saying Trump's name. At the same time, Trump is sitting there on his phone going nuts, tweeting, 50 tweets per hour and screwing things up. Joe Biden is acting right now like a winner. Now, he hasn't won yet. It's not over. We all know that. We're not going to be Hillary this time around. We understand the stakes and we understand what he can do. But did you notice that tonal difference, not just in sound, but in the look of what happened on Tuesday?
Yeah, this morning on I don't know if you saw it on Morning Joe this morning, they had a split screen with Biden at Gettysburg, and the other side of the screen had Trump. They didn't run any audio whatsoever. There was no talking. They were talking, but you couldn't hear any audio. And the sense of calm that you got, and they talked about the fact that just looking at that split image right there, you felt so much calmer looking at Joe Biden than you did at Trump ranting on the other side. The juxtaposition was just amazing.
Yeah, I think the Biden campaign has done mostly the right stuff and stayed on message. I don't think they've taken any big swings, but I don't think they needed to. I know that there was a lot of consternation and hand-wringing over the weekend about them suspending the negative ads, the attack ads, and people were saying, well, it's fine. Trump's acting like, he's going by doing the drive-by with the Proud Boys and all this stuff. Go ahead and run those attack ads. I don't think Joe Biden's attack ads really mean that much right now. I think the great attack ads are coming from places like the Lincoln Project and stuff like that. And that stuff is still continuing. There's a steady pipeline of that. So I don't think it's necessarily all that important that the Biden campaign officially has to run that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think we're way past that moment now. He squandered any level of sympathy from opponents or other people, even though, of course, on TV, you have to just say, of course, we wish for everyone who ever gets the coronavirus to not be serious. You say all those perfunctory things, but in terms of the reality of it, he's checked that at the door a long time ago, and he certainly in the most ridiculous stay at a hospital by an American since remember Howard Hughes. Dennis, you remember the last days of Howard Hughes?
Yeah,
I think he was in and out of the hospital, and then they took him back up to the top floor of the what I think was the Desert Inn doesn't exist anymore in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. And there was all that shit in Time magazine. They had this drawing of him with hair down to his ankles, that he hadn't gotten a haircut, for 10 years, and his fingernails had grown out, the whole thing. I mean, maybe we're getting close to that with Trump. Although, Dennis, I've had this fantasy for 4 years that it would end like this: Trump by himself, abandoned by all his friends and his family, in the White House, upstairs, in a room, in his Barca-lounger, with his phone in one hand and his remote control in the other hand. Now, this goes back for years. It seems like we may be closer to that moment than I ever dreamed. And I'm sorry that it has to happen this way, but he has to be isolated. And he's isolated, not just physical sense from people. He's so isolated from the American people, and having an understanding that every person in this country, everyone is affected by it. And for a president to stand up there and say, don't let the virus control you. It's not a question of the virus controlling us. It's controlled the entire world. It's changed everything. And just because he's had the means and has the job that insulates him more than anybody else, maybe in the world, from the consequences of it in terms of his job or his finances, just because that is the beyond definition of out of touch. It's just beyond that, isn't it?
Well, Dennis, did you know that if you get coronavirus, all you got to do is have your Secret Service driver just take you up to Walter Reed and they'll treat you? I mean, you're going to get great treatment. I don't know why people aren't doing this.
Great socialized medicine at Walter Reed Hospital.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Of course, that's what it is. It is.
Exactly. It is.
And Trump is such an oaf. He's so tone deaf, and the people around him are also that. And somebody should do a readout on this. I guess you could figure it out. It could be figured out. How much did those 4 days in the hospital cost?
Yeah.
The American taxpayers. If a real person went in and got that kind of treatment, which almost nobody gets that, right?
Yeah.
Because we know that people are going broke due to medical bills still in the United States. If Donald Trump would say, you know what, I'm going to write a check for that because I don't think the American people should have to pay for my mistake. What if he and what if he went full Jimmy Swaggart tomorrow? I have sinned. I've been wrong. It's not going to happen.
The weeping.
But if he actually did that, would that just undercut him with his base? It would undercut the tough guy. Nothing phases me. I'm Robert Conrad. I dare you to knock it off my shoulder kind of attitude that he has. Reference lost on younger viewers. I mean, I know he can't do that and he won't do that, but if he did do that, is that maybe the only thing he has left? I would never advise him to do that because, as you know, he would say, off with his head, and they take you out and put you on the guillotine, right? If you were one of the advisors. But I'm just trying to think. He's doing so many irrational, crazy things right now. Maybe that's the speech he gives to the country. I was wrong. Now I'm going to be right. 4 more years.
Never going to happen.
I know. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just spitballing. I know it's not going to happen. Of course, he's way in too deep, and so are his enablers and collaboration nation, as I like to call them. You can't do that. I don't know. What's left? You're down anywhere from 10 to 15 points nationally. You're down in almost every swing state, and you're about to be significantly down in what weren't swing states before that you won easily in 2016. Ohio, Arizona, Texas, Georgia. These are states that are on the bubble, and you're getting close to 400 electoral votes for the other guy if you start losing all those states.
Right.
What would you do? What if we were Trump? What would we tell him to do? Of course, I'd tell him to quit right now, get the hell out. But again, I'd go to the guillotine in 10 seconds. Dennis, you are a Donald Trump advisor. What do you tell him to do?
Yeah. You don't tell him the truth. That's for sure. You don't last very long if you tell him the truth. So that's not going to happen. No, they're still they're still feeding him lies. I mean, they're still telling him he's polling good.
Mhm.
All right,
Are they really still saying that to him? Come on, they can't possibly.
Well, he's saying it, so where is he getting it from? Unless he's just making it up out of thin air. He keeps saying that the polls show us really doing well. He's getting that from somewhere. Somebody's telling him that.
Right.
But even those polls that always show him ahead, for some reason, are not showing him very much ahead anymore, like Zogby and Rasmussen. Yeah. Even those polls, they're having trouble coming up with a credible lie for him anymore.
Well, but you're right. I think there must be some way that they can game it and get some sort of results to present to him that shows that he's either not behind that much or winning. There's got to be some way that they can game the system and show some demographics or something.
But just think about what is the point in doing that for him right now? Clearly, the best thing that someone could do is to tell him the truth and say, "Here's what we have," because we've seen and heard in previous elections that there is that moment where someone walks in and says to Mitt Romney, "You're not going to win." John McCain, "You're not going to win." Al Gore, "You're going to win, but you're going to lose." Moments like that.
But all of those people,
is that never going to happen? Is that never going to happen?
All of those people had a semblance of logic still left in them. He doesn't, so you can't tell him that. He's a mob boss, and you can't go tell the mob boss the truth. It's just it's not going to happen.
Right.
These guys know that. These people that are working for him know that. If his own family can't tell him the truth, who's left?
If his own doctors can't tell him the truth.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when you were talking about him, what they should tell him and getting out of the race and stuff, they tried to tell him after that Access Hollywood tape came out. Reince Priebus sat down with him. You either get out now or you lose a crushing defeat. Right. And of course, Reince Priebus then sold out and became the first chief of staff.
Right. Well, actually, that's such a great point, because what he does now and what he's been doing the last 3 or 4 years is he uses those little reference points as excuses to now disregard all information. If he's behind 10 in the polls, it doesn't matter. If he's behind 15 in the polls, it doesn't matter, because last time I won. All right. And we know all the specious reasons why he won. There wasn't really a Donald Trump wave at the end. It was the quirk in a couple of the states in the upper Midwest that did it. And there's no evidence that that's going to happen this time. And there's no Jill Stein. There are still Russian trolls out there screwing around on Facebook with stuff that the three of us don't ever see. We get that that's going on below the surface, but there's such an overwhelming early vote across the country. There's such an overwhelming early vote in terms of mail-in across the country. There is a story that I just posted. It's from The Hill. The number of mail-in votes at this point of the election is 73 times larger than the number of mail-in votes that had come in at the same point in 2016. And I don't think that's a Donald Trump wave of mail-in votes, because it's more than 2-to-1 Democratic registered voters who've sent in their ballots so far. And every day when a new state opens up their early voting, the line is, a mile long, like it was in Columbus, Ohio on Tuesday at the one polling place in Franklin County, which is Columbus, which is 1.3 million fucking people, which is bigger than Mecklenburg or Wake counties in North Carolina, or where we are, Guilford County, where as bad a situation as we think we may have with voter suppression and the Republicans screwing up everything, at least here in Guilford and all over in Guilford County, there are 25 early voting places.
That's right.
In Columbus, Ohio, where the Republicans have been controlling the legislature there for a long time, they have one polling place, early voting per county, 88 counties, one place. That would be as if where we are, if everyone who was early voting had to go downtown to Greensboro to the Board of Elections to vote there. It's shameful, but I think just like in 2018, people are not going to be deterred. They're not going to be deterred by this guy. They're not going to be deterred by their lawyers, and we can have some quiet confidence here. I think that's how I'm feeling.
I think the reason he actually won in 2016 was there wasn't a lot of support for Donald Trump. There was a lack of support for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
That was where it came from. People didn't go out and vote because they thought she was just going to win anyway, and it really didn't matter. And other people just sort of pissed off at Hillary Clinton, saying, I'm going to vote for Trump just to screw around with Hillary because I'm pissed at her.
And there's
That's
none of
how
that
he
this
won.
time around. Not this time.
No.
Nobody is using their vote as counterfeit currency just to have fun, or to be able to say, well, I didn't vote for Hillary because she's Benghazi. She's just as bad. She's as dishonest as Trump is.
Yeah.
Right.
That was just like one of those things where
none of that playing this time. None of that playing this time.
That was just like one of those things where people over a period of time had just been told they should be upset at Hillary because of this, and people just accepted it over a period of time. They didn't really look into it. Like, I should be mad at her. She kind of did this, and Whitewater and Travelgate and going back to the 90s and stuff. And Benghazi. I don't know much about it, but I'm supposed to be upset at her. So that's why I don't like her.
Well, just think about this, and we can look now because it's 4 years ago. Think about the false analogy, the fake balance, the he said, she said aspect of Donald Trump, the most prolific, philandering, disgusting human being to ever run for public office, balanced off by, Hillary enabled Bill with all those women. It's
exactly.
the same thing.
Exactly.
But it worked.
It did.
It worked. And it's not there this time. Okay, you can't hate Joe Biden, and you've probably seen that number of people who are saying that they don't like either candidate that much. But of the people who say they don't like either candidate that much, most of them are voting for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I can live with that. I mean, we know there are always those people who just say, I'm above it, and I don't want to be seen as any kind of partisan, and they both suck, and that whole group. And where they find, I don't know, Dennis, if you've been annoyed by the supposed swing voters that they find to put on panels on TV.
Yeah. Undecided voters.
They are so dumb. It's so stupid. I just want to choke those people.
My theory is that there really are no undecided voters. There are Trump supporters who are ashamed to admit that they've been a Trump supporter, and so they hide behind this. Well, I'm undecided. That's bullshit. They're not undecided. They have been a Trump supporter, and they're just trying to figure out a way to either get out of it or figure out a way to vote for Trump.
Yeah.
But at heart, they started out as Trump supporters, and they're ashamed to admit it. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking with it.
As we speak tonight, there's going to be a vice presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Mike Pence, and it's going to be, I believe, in Miami. And they finally gotten to where she insisted, Kamala Harris did, on the plexiglass barriers, and finally Vice President Pence, okay, we'll have it. I think we're into the part of the campaign where it's just you have to concoct scenarios that Biden and Harris can do just to lose. I don't think there's anything. I mean, these vice presidential debates usually don't mean a whole lot. I kind of thought that the Biden stuff with Paul Ryan all those years ago seemed like it was helpful to the Obama campaign back in 2012, but I'm not sure. Is there any scenario you can concoct that Kamala Harris does something that's so offensive and awful to America that she somehow swings the election for Donald Trump? Because I can't imagine.
No. And how is Pence going to handle it tonight? What's he? Usually Pence sits around and talks about what an amazing president Donald Trump has been and everything great. Is that what he's going to be doing tonight? Is that going to be his saying? Is he just going to spout, platitudes about how great Trump is?
Well, I think I'm going to lean on the most hackneyed cliche of them all that you've heard 8,000 times with 8,000 different people who you roll your eyes and think they know better, which is Mike Pence is speaking to an audience of one. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all he cares about. So you know what follows after that. And my guess is that he'll run through the same kind of bullshit that Trump has done. We got all the ventilators. Everybody has the ventilators. We've got 150 million tests going out. But he'll go through all that. And I don't think there is a better person to cut through that than Kamala Harris, because you bring those prosecutor chops to a situation like this one-on-one, and she brought Brett Kavanaugh to tears, and for good reason. He deserved it.
That's right.
And he got smart ass back at her, and she wasn't having any of it. So I think Mike Pence is going to be in for a world of hurt tonight, because you can only defend the indefensible for so long. And right now, the emperor's clothes have already been ripped off, and boy, that's an ugly sight. And you're the you're the errand boy for this guy, and I don't think there's anywhere for him to go. And since he isn't going to have the attitude or the volume level or the interruptive qualities of Trump, or maybe he will, that's not going to win either.
No.
I think he's in a lot of trouble here. I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, it's going to be a lot about the handling of the coronavirus. And it's also going to be about the fact that, this administration does not care about the American people enough to prioritize getting help to tens of millions of Americans, to cities across this country, even horrible ones like New York and Chicago and San Francisco and LA, to make sure that they don't have to lay off firemen and policemen and teachers to keep things flowing until a vaccine really does start to help people get back to some semblance of normal, no matter how long it takes. That they would prioritize jamming through a Supreme Court justice who shouldn't be jammed through right now. And even Republicans, see, this is the problem. You can always start every sentence with even Republicans, can see that right now the country is on the precipice of what could be an economic disaster, a true depression, if we let this slide for another 3-4 months, and foreclosures start to really cascade, and landlords can't pay their rent because they haven't been paid rent by their tenants. And you got to stop the bleeding right now. The Democrats passed a bill, back in April, the second stage back in April, and the Mitch McConnell, who is really the evil guy of them all, has sat on this. And this is a deliberate strategy at this point. I'll step aside. What do you guys think of Mike Pence's chances of coming out of this standing up straight? I don't think they're very good.
No, I don't think so. And talking about what the Republicans are doing as far as passing legislation to help the country, I don't think they're interested in doing that right now. A lot of them, I think, see that there's a really good chance that Trump is going to lose the election. And if that's the case, why should they do anything that's going to help the economy and in turn help the Democrats? So I think we will see, especially if Trump loses the election, nothing will happen as far as economic help goes from the Republicans during the lame duck session of Congress. It's going to have to be next year before anything happens, because the Republicans are not going to be interested in helping the economy to improve, because that's just going to help the Democrats.
Well, and that's where Joe Biden is going to shine, because he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure, even if the Republicans retain control of the Senate. And we get onto that in just a moment. He's really good at the whole machinations of the United States Senate, and knowing how to get things through, and knowing how to put pressure on people. And he and Pelosi will be able to put a lot of pressure on the Republicans in the Senate to get something passed. But going back to Mike Pence, he's an interesting character in Trump land, because he doesn't have a lot of support among the Trump people, because yes, he has been a vociferous defender of the president for 3.5 years now. But other people like Jim Jordan and Ted Cruz and Lindsey, they've been much greater defenders of the president. And then there are some Republicans who look at Mike Pence, and they are values kind of voters, conservative Christians and stuff like that, who are kind of appalled that Mike Pence is still on board. There is a segment of that. It doesn't seem like there's enough of them, but there are some people that they're appalled that he's still kind of singing Donald Trump's tune. So he's a very interesting. I don't even know that my point being, I don't even know if there's a tremendous amount of support among conservative media come Thursday that, oh, Mike Pence kicked her ass. I don't know if there's a lot of that out there to put that story forward, because they don't have that sort of feeling for him.
But I think you're underselling the idea that even when the clock says 3 o'clock, they're going to tell you it says 9, because that's what they do. So no matter what happens to Mike Pence, believe me, Sean Hannity will say it was the greatest victory over a black woman that he's ever seen in his life. Right. It'll be some horrible thing like that. Dennis, I want to go back to what you just were talking about here a second ago, because before we came on, I was looking at what Josh Marshall had written about this very subject. And as devious a character as Mitch McConnell is, he may have done yesterday the ultimate Machiavellian move by maybe helping to plant the idea to Trump to tank all the talks about putting money in to help the economy right now, because Mitch McConnell knows that Trump is going down. He's going down. And therefore, what you said is true, that the last thing that Mitch McConnell wants to do is be on the record with his party of helping Republicans make sure that the economy doesn't tip over, because that might actually help Trump here. We don't want that, because Mitch McConnell probably really, truly hates Trump. All he cares about is the Supreme Court justice in the short run over the next few weeks. And then when the dust settles and Joe Biden is the president, and Mitch McConnell is assuming that isn't going to be such a blue wave that not only will he be kicked out of office, but the entire Republican Senate will become a Democratic Senate. He assumes he's still going to be there, and he would love to be able to then go back to what he did with Obama, with Biden, which has become suddenly deficits are terrible. You're overspending. We can't afford anything. And I'm going to say no to make Joe Biden a one-term president, like I was trying to make Barack Obama a one-term president. That didn't work out so well. But that McConnell is so evil that and they turn on each other so easily and so predictably, and Trump would never know this was going on behind his, and he'd be willing to play along like he did yesterday. By the way, that's assuming way too much intelligence on everybody's part. or that they're this good at keeping a secret, or that's never going to be found out in the short run. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. I read an article, and it may have been the same one you're talking about today, that McConnell is the guy who called Trump and told him to just get out of this. It's never going to happen with Pelosi. She's not being honest about any of this, and just put a stop to it. Yeah.
And by the way, when Mitch McConnell says you're not being honest, you can go to the bank on that.
Ever since Nancy Pelosi regained the speakership, she's kicked his ass in every negotiation. In fact, I think when she was in the minority, she kicked his ass in every. The Art of the Deal guy gets his ass kicked every time by her, because she's so much smarter and she knows how the game is played so much better than he ever could, because he's not willing to do any of the homework or listen to anybody who would know anything. She kills him every time.
Last thing here, because we need to pay more attention to this because it's such a local story. Is Cal Cunningham going to pull this out?
I'm glad you brought this up.
Are we going to be able to drag him across the finish line, much in the same way that Donald Trump got dragged across the finish line in spite of, and again, we all know that on a scale of 1 to 100, this is, in actuality, this is a 2, and Trump was a 97. but that's
Yeah.
not how the world works. And
but it's so stupid. It's so
stupid.
All you had to do was avoid doing this for like
all right, but
60 days.
I understand that, but that's not. Let's live in the reality world, and let's just say that Cal Cunningham. Okay, he's not a Phi Beta Kappa. He really isn't, but that's okay. We don't need a Phi Beta Kappa.
No, we don't.
We just don't want to be. North Carolina does not want to be the state that, if after all the votes are counted sometime in November, that Joe Biden is the president and the Republicans held on to the Senate by 1 seat. And it was North Carolina, where Tom Tillis continues on. And that's because Cal Cunningham fucked it up. Because he was sending text messages to some babe out in California. If that happens, Katie bar the door. That's the end. That's the end of humanity, because we will all suffer for that again for the rest of our lives over that issue. I'm confident that if there is a blue wave, it won't be by 1 seat in the Senate. It'll be Montana. It'll be Colorado. It'll be Iowa. It'll be Arizona. It'll be Maine. Those are the first 5 that come to mind right there. And those 5 already, that's enough. That's already enough of a margin without North Carolina. So
So what do you think? Go ahead.
I think in a normal year, this would be fatal for Cal Cunningham in a normal year. This is not a normal year. There's an awful lot of people out there like me, like us, who are willing to overlook this because defeating Trump and having a Democratic Senate is so much more important than anything else. Cal Cunningham could murder somebody on Fifth Avenue and hopefully he would still be elected to the Senate. I mean, it is that important. And I think there's a lot of people who see that. But still, I know there's going to be people out there who are turned off by what Cal Cunningham has done. I'm turned off by what Cal Cunningham has done. But it's more important. Hopefully there's more people like me who see that it's more important that we put him in there rather than look at what he did.
Yeah, well, I don't even want to give it that much oxygen in terms of, it disappoints me, because I really can say in this case, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't either.
And
it was just stupid, though.
Right. It was stupid, and we've all done stupid things, and particularly the timing on this. But there are exogenous things about this story, including the fact that we learned about it from some right-wing piece of shit site called the National File. You notice how when the story was written elsewhere in the News and Observer or anywhere else, they go, the story went from the National File, and they don't tell you what the fucking National File is.
It's just a website.
It's just, the National File is made up of people who sucked too much to be at the Daily Caller and Breitbart. So they went and started their own. But the timing that story came out about 2 hours after Tom Tillis tested positive for coronavirus should be not lost on anybody. It's just like the Russian emails from WikiLeaks came out about 3 hours after the Washington Post broke the Access Hollywood story and the tape with Billy Bush. So, and that doesn't make Cal Cunningham right. That doesn't mean he's a smart guy. That doesn't mean he can't keep his dick in his pants. We know all that. But Jesus Christ, there are 500,000 people in this state who need Medicaid. There are tens of thousands of businesses that are upside down. There are thousands of people.
They don't care. Those people don't care about Cal Cunningham's penis. They just don't.
This is the greater good theory, and it's easy to justify it and rationalize it, and it is not the same as people who look the other way on things having to do with the character of Donald Trump. It is not equivalent. It is not the same, and I hope that we are bigger and smarter and have enough experience to think 2 words when you think about Cal Cunningham. Al Franken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's too bad. It's too bad we still don't have a Senator Al Franken for about
I know.
800 different reasons, including the upcoming hearings of Amy Coney Barrett, because Al Franken would have been on that committee, and he was a great questioner. He was so prepared. He was so smart, and he's been replaced by. I'll give each of you $1 million if you can name the Democratic senator who was named in Al Franken's place.
It's a female, but I can't remember what her name is.
I think it's Tina Smith.
Yeah,
I think that's her. Exactly. She's been a big impact player.
Huge.
So, right.
When it comes to Cal Cunningham, I'll say people who have listened to this podcast for a while are tired of hearing me saying this. I feel the same way that I feel about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not a great candidate. I don't need a great candidate right now. A good candidate will do just fine. If my house is on fire and I've got a good fire extinguisher in my hands, I'm not going to go, I'm going to wait till a great fire extinguisher comes along. No, I'm going to go ahead and use the good fire extinguisher. I'm going to put out the fire. But Cal Cunningham has done himself no favors. This is going to continue to dog him if he is elected. And it was completely stupid. And it does put a lot of things in jeopardy. I thought he was rolling along pretty good. He may end up, as you say, Brad, being dragged across the finish line, but he's made things way more dramatic than they should be here in the closing month of the campaign.
And, Dennis, you know what will drag him across the finish line? Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Joe Biden will drag him across. And, of course, in reverse, Donald Trump. That the animus towards Trump has already gotten the polls to where Joe Biden theoretically could win North Carolina. And I just hope that Cal Cunningham doesn't become this year's Pat McCrory. Because remember, Roy Cooper beat Pat McCrory 4 years ago, and Trump won the state big. That's how much people hated Pat McCrory.
That's right.
And you'd hate to see that Joe Biden takes North Carolina and we lose the Senate seat and Tom Tillis stays there. That would be just mega tragic.
Well, the Republican Party is completely corrupt. All of them need to be replaced. All of them need to be not replaced. All of them need to be defeated. And hopefully people see that the Republican Party with Trump has just it's finished. It should be completely finished this year, and started over at some point with something else.
Dennis, go ahead and plug your podcast and all of your social media and stuff where people can find you. All
right, Papa Dennis Show. We're podcasting on all of the platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast. Just do a search for Papa Dennis Show. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and we appreciate it. You guys doing a great job.
We appreciate you coming on with us this afternoon, Dennis. It was fun. We always have a lot of fun with you. And should we do this the last week? I think we should get everybody on the last week in October there before the election, and
I'd
see
love
if we
to.
Feel the same way here, or if we've all had to go out and buy brand new underwear for that final week, because that could happen. You just never know.
And will we know anything on Wednesday, November 4th?
You know what? We might, and if we do, it'll be, I think, really positive news.
Yeah. One good thing, all of the mail-in votes in North Carolina are going to be counted. All of them that are received are going to be counted before Election Day. And as soon as the polls close, they're going to release the results of all of the mail-in votes that have been received at that point.
I think that's the same in Florida. I think
it's same in Florida and the same in Ohio too. So there's a lot of big states with a lot of mail-in votes that the results are going to be released immediately, and we won't have to sit around and wait for them.
Yeah. If two of those three go for Biden, even if the two are North Carolina and Ohio, he can have Florida.
Absolutely.
Florida won't win it for him.
100%.
Because, Florida is kind of an anomaly, freak show state anyway.
It is.
If he squeaks by with Florida, but Ohio goes early for Trump, it's dead meat. He's going to lose the whole Big Ten.
That's it. It's all over.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, And who knows? I haven't heard a word about Indiana. I assume,
Wow.
because Mike Pence is such a
Huge.
Mike Pence was hated in Indiana.
He very
was an
much was.
unpopular loser governor.
That's
and
true.
You talk about pulling somebody off the trash heap and giving him a career. Pence was through. He was not going to get reelected. He was down in the polls there.
That's true.
And Trump saved his ass. So who knows? We can hope, but the work is not done.
Is his wife going to let him sit up on stage?
Well, that's why the
Is
plexiglass
Pence's
barrier.
wife going to let him sit up on stage with Kamala?
If you have the barriers, then the sexual energy can't penetrate that. So I think he'll be fine.
Well, because it's a town hall situation and there'll be 50 or so other people in the room, that counts as having witnesses there. So
there you go.
So Mike will be able to restrain himself. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks a lot.
We'll do it again soon.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I enjoyed it.